Let's talk supply chain. Hey everyone, Sarah Barnes-Humphrey here of Let's Talk Supply Chain, and we are on site at IANA Expo in the Port of Long Beach booth with Dr. Noel. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yes,
great to be here.
I think our 8th time having this conversation on
I've
camera.
lost count, but I have so much fun every time we do this.
I know, and we're going to have so much fun today. But first I want to ask you a question. Yeah. So today I'm joined by, obviously, a major U.S. port. So can you guess the product that tops their list of imports and exports? Don't let me know yet, because we're going to let you know the answer at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. Now, for anybody that doesn't know you, and I can't believe there's anybody out there that doesn't know who you are. I mean, it's Dr. Noel. Can you tell us who you are, what you do, your role at Port of Long Beach, and maybe a little bit of an overview of Port of Long Beach?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's always a pleasure to join you, Sarah. Noel Hasagaba, I serve as the Chief Operating Officer at the Port of Long Beach. And my responsibility is to oversee the day-to-day operations of the port, which includes commercial operations, finance and administration, engineering, environmental planning, strategic advocacy, just to name a few.
That's a big job.
But I'm part of an amazing team, and all of my teammates make it so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You do have a great team.
I do.
I have had the pleasure of working with your team a number of times over the years in various capacities with different departments, and you've really built a great culture over at the Port of Long Beach.
And our team, including our Board of Harbor Commissioners, our CEO all the way down, it's an incredible organization, and our tagline is Port of Choice, and one of the reasons we are the Port of Choice is because we have a team that's committed to excellence, and it shows in every aspect, every function of our port.
So talk to me about the Port of Long Beach. What sets you apart? I mean, obviously, other than culture, you do talk about being the Port of Choice. So what sets you apart? What do volumes look like for you? You know, put it in terms that everybody can understand why you're the Port of Choice.
Well, from a containerized, the containerized line of business, we rank as the nation's second busiest seaport.
Okay.
In calendar year 2024, for example, we processed about 9.6 million TEUs.
Wow.
So that puts us, just within striking distance of our neighboring port, Port of Los Angeles. But we're also known internationally as a trailblazer and a leader when it comes to environmental sustainability. We're also known for our world-class customer service. As a matter of fact, in 2025, we were voted Best West Coast Seaport and Best Green Port by Asia Cargo News.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. And by the way, not to brag, but that's 7 years running that we've been voted by all of our customers, industry leaders, as the best coast on the West Coast. And again,
I think you can brag about that just a little bit. That gives you some bragging rights.
And there's no greater recognition than the customers, right? Those who actually do business at your port. So we're very proud of that and very gratified that our customers and our supply chain partners recognize what we do for them.
Right. So Dr. Noel, last year was one of your record years, or
Yes.
I think the record year in your 114-year history.
Yeah.
I mean, congratulations on that. But also, what set you apart in 2025? What was the difference, do you think?
Well, what's even more remarkable about our record year is not just the number of containers that we processed, but the fact that we did so without any congestion, any backlogs, or any delays. I mean, just to put that in perspective, our last record happened during the pandemic. And yes, we handled the record number of containers, but there was a lot of congestion, there was a lot of backlogs. Well, that's in the past. Last year set a new standard where we as a port handled nearly 10 million container units without any congestion. And again, that all credit due to lessons learned from the pandemic and how we as a supply chain came together, and now we know who to call, we know how to work better, and we know how to collaborate. So could not be happier. Grateful to our dock workers, our terminals, and all of our partners up and down the supply chain who enabled us to move record volumes.
We want to say thank you to them,
yes,
right?
We do.
Because they really are the ones on the ground.
They really are the heroes.
That are keeping the economy moving, keeping products moving, and I love that you do, because you do that every time we talk. You make sure that you thank everybody who's part of the supply chain?
Yes.
Because it really is a collaborative effort, right?
It is. It's
all partners.
It's, the supply chain, Sarah, as I like to say, it's the ultimate team sport. We're
Yes.
better together, and when we all come
Yes.
together, we agree on the mission and we help each other, we all benefit from it, and that's exactly what we do.
Nice. Well, I want to switch gears a little bit to tariffs.
All right.
Because I've been hearing about tariffs from like the shipper perspective, the tech perspective, retail perspective, but I have not had the perspective from the port. What does that look like for you? What kind of challenges does it pose for 2025? I mean, we're in September 2025, so we're almost at the tail end of the year. You had a record year last year. What does it mean for you this year?
A lot of people ask how the tariff situation is different from a few years ago, back in 2018, 2019. And I would say that it's vastly different. The scale, the scope, the fact that tariffs are being announced seemingly on a monthly basis, and the fact that there are pauses announced seemingly on a monthly basis.
It's very true.
And all of that creates a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
The uncertainty is what slows investments, it slows hiring, and it has that effect. Now, having said that, Sarah, in spite of all the uncertainty that's been generated by all of these announcements and these pauses, 2025 is on track to be another record year for the Port of Long Beach.
What?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
I mean, just to give you some numbers, from July of 2024 through April of 2025, we had 11 consecutive months of year-over-year increases.
Wow.
May was the first month in a year where we saw a year-over-year decline, and it was down about 13%.
Okay.
But then in June and July, we started noticing an uptick once again because of all the starts and stops when it comes to these announcements.
But also peak season.
And peak season, right? So year to date, from January through August, we are 8 points ahead of last year. So it's a remarkable thing. It's hard to believe. There was a lot of doom and gloom late last year, early this year, but it's been the opposite. Now, having said that, I will say that all of these record volumes is not translating well across the supply chain.
Okay.
For example, in the motor carrier segment, the freight recession continues.
Yes, it
and
does.
that's something that's been going on for a few years. You've heard, I'm sure, of some of these trucking companies that have gone out of business. I mean, these were companies that were in our industry for decades. And sadly, they've filed for bankruptcy. So there's still segments that are feeling the effects of the broader uncertainty.
Right. So I mentioned we're in September. This episode's most likely going to come out in just a little bit, a couple weeks from now.
Okay.
What do you think the rest of 2025 is going to look like? Do you think that it's going to continue on that trajectory? I mean, I'm asking you to get out your crystal ball. I usually do this to him. I mean, don't I? I mean, this is kind of the thing that I do.
But you're not the only one. Every projection that I've shared has either gone above and beyond what I suggested, and I'm an optimist, right? I think that we're going to end the calendar year in positive territory.
So you're saying even more of a record year this year than last
right.
year.
I'm fairly confident that when we get to December of 2025, where Port of Long Beach is going to see another record year.
Wow. Well, can I hold you to it? No, I won't. Because I kind of put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Well, and a lot of this really has to do with investment that you're putting back into the port. You've got a couple of really exciting, I think, strategic projects that we want to talk about. You're looking forward. You're looking into the future, 10 years into the future. Talk to us about what that looks like, if you can, but then also what the impact's going to be on the industry.
We have a philosophy here at the Port of Long Beach, to borrow a phrase, right? The best way to predict the future is to create it.
Create it. I love it.
And we are literally building the Port of the future here in Long Beach.
Right.
When you look at all of our CapEx investments over the next 10 years, I mean, there's no other gateway, there's no other port authority that's investing $3.2 billion. And Sarah, that's on top of nearly $5 billion that we invested in the 15 years prior.
Right.
What are we doing? We're upgrading our infrastructure, we're expanding our capacity, We're enabling our container terminals to move more on an intermodal basis. And we're doing all of that because we know that the market's going to continue to grow, and we need to do our part as a gateway, as the nation's largest gateway, to enable that growth.
And make sure that you continue to be the port of choice.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I love that motto. And I love that you're thinking about the future. I mean, there's got to be investments across the board.
That's right.
Because everybody has a role to play.
That's right.
In supply chain.
That's right.
And I always say collaboration is the future of business.
You know, teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yeah.
When you look at what our partners are doing in the supply chain, the Class 1s are investing, they're making massive investments of their own, and they're complementing what we're doing here inside the port. So when you look at what we're doing inside our port, and you combine that with what some of our partners are doing outside the port, that's how you get a resilient, more efficient supply chain.
Well, and I think it's also good to know that everybody is making the investment.
That's right.
A lot of times we're talking about retailers, we're talking about shippers, we're talking about logistics companies making investments in technology, in their business. Yeah. And I think it's important to note that everybody is doing the same.
That's right.
Everybody's in that boat. Everybody's, and pardon the pun.
Yeah, no.
I said in that boat.
It fits in our industry.
But I think it's good to know that everybody is making different
right.
investments for what needs to happen
That's
for
right.
goods to flow better into the country.
That's
and
exactly
into North
right.
America.
You know, one of the things that we've learned and has been a hallmark of our success is you have to plan for the long haul. And you have to think holistically. You have to think outside the docks, literally. Think about how that container will get into the hinterland.
Did you say docks or box?
Outside the docks.
I love that. I'm sorry. I did not
no.
mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, but you got to think holistically, right? You have to think about where that container is going next and how it's going to get there more quickly, more efficiently, and more sustainably.
Yeah. And on that note, I want to talk about Pier B on-dock rail support facility.
Yes.
I had to read that one because I did not want to get that wrong.
Yes, no, you got it right.
Because we've been talking about the importance of tough conversations around cost, sustainability, investment. We just said investment. Everybody needs to make that. Labor.
Yes.
Right? There's so many different conversations, other issues around trucks. What is this project? What is the purpose? What is the impact?
Well, the other name that we have for our Pier B project is what we call America's Green Gateway.
Okay.
Because when you look at what we're doing inside the port, we're expanding our rail capacity dramatically. We're more than tripling our rail capacity.
Wow.
And we're enabling all of our container terminals that process intermodal boxes to increase their own capacity inside their yards. And this will enable us to have more and faster direct services directly from the Port of Long Beach to some of the key inland rail yards. Dallas, Kansas City, Memphis, Chicago.
And we need it.
And we need it,
yeah.
right? I mean, when you look at the value of intermodal and the advantages of intermodal, what we're doing here at the Port of Long Beach is going to dramatically enhance the intermodal market in the United States. It really is America's Green Gateway.
I think a lot of organizations are going to be very happy and very excited to hear that.
Yes.
Right? Because not all organizations have facilities here on the West Coast.
That's right.
A lot of commerce, a lot of products are moved within the Midwest.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
I think that's Texas, Chicago, and they need the goods to move just as fast as if they did have a facility here.
As a matter of fact, Sarah, about 2/3 of all the goods that cross our docks end up somewhere other than Southern California.
Really? 2/3?
2/3. In fact, all the containers that cross our docks reach all 435 congressional districts.
Wow.
So this is why what we do here at the Port of Long Beach matters not just for our region, it matters for the nation's transportation system.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you're also making some investments in technology.
Yes.
I mean, aren't we all? Even I'm making some investments.
You have to,
right? And I think you're calling it the Supply Chain Information Highway.
That's right.
What is that all about? Give us all the information on what you're doing.
So let me give you the big picture. As we build out our physical infrastructure, we know that the only way we can maximize the benefits that this new infrastructure is going to bring is by pairing that with enhancements in the way that containers move from segment to segment. And that's where technology plays a key role.
Yeah.
And we're trying to leverage the power of data sharing so that as we improve the transfer of data, that actually enables that transfer of those containers. The Supply Chain Information Highway was developed and designed to bring value to the industry by maximizing visibility, velocity, and value.
Yeah.
And by pairing technology with collaboration, we're unleashing the power of data sharing, and we're creating this national corridor where each other port becomes a virtual on-ramp.
Yeah.
So it's a novel concept where it's not just the technology, it's the way that we're harnessing it, and it's the way that we're approaching it with all of our partners.
Data sharing.
Yes.
I love it. I mean, it's got to be reliable.
It's got to be.
You've got to trust your partners to
That's
be able
right.
to share the data.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are worried about sharing data.
Yeah.
But there's data, you can decide what data you're going to share, what data you're not going to share.
Right.
But really, this is the future of our industry, is to be
Really
able
is.
to share that data, have better communication, less manually.
That's right.
Right? It's not about necessarily about picking up the phones anymore. It's like, how do we push the data that you need for tomorrow? And how do you push some of the data back to us that we need for tomorrow as well?
That's exactly right, Sarah. It's all about getting accurate, actionable, and reliable data in the hands of the supply chain partners.
And building trust.
That's exactly
amongst
right.
The partners.
I mean, it would make no difference to share data that's not accurate or not actionable.
Fair.
And what we're trying to do is unleash the power of data sharing and get folks comfortable with the fact that we need each other and we need each other's data to get that container from point A to point B as quickly, as reliably, and sustainably as possible.
Not an easy task,
It's
Dr.
not.
Noel.
But we're going to get it done.
If
by working
anybody
together.
can do it, you can do it.
Look, we got an incredible team, and we've built an enormous amount of trust with all of our partners, and that's what's going to make the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, last but not least, you did talk or mention at the beginning of this episode sustainability.
Yes.
I think you're making some investments in sustainability.
Yes.
What does that mean? I think it's got something to do with wind turbines.
Yeah, so let me just say that 2025 is a milestone year for the Port of Long Beach.
Okay.
It marks the 20th anniversary of our groundbreaking green port policy. We've been leading green for 20 years. And if you look at the progress we've made on the environmental sustainability side, and you account for the fact that our volumes have grown more than 20% during that time period, every category of pollution has declined by as much as 98%. It's been a remarkable journey.
Increase in the volume,
Yes.
decrease.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. And this is, I mean, we've demonstrated that we can grow green. And so this Pier wind project that you referenced is our attempt at contributing to the nation's energy independence.
Okay.
We know that in the years ahead, we're all going to need more power to power our equipment, to power our devices, to enable that transition to zero emissions. And Pier Wind basically contemplates the single largest area where these wind turbines will be manufactured and assembled. And it's a project that's going to be, it's going to take some years to build, but we're confident that in the years ahead, it's going to contribute to our nation's energy independence. It's going to make our supply chain more reliable, and it's going to bring renewable sources of power to our industry.
I like that word, independence.
Yes.
It's not something that you hear a lot in supply chain, because we talk about collaboration.
That's right.
But we also need, like you said, some independence when it comes
That's
to
right.
energy sources.
That's right.
And it's interesting in how that correlates to supply chain. You don't really think about wind turbines. You don't really think about how do we help the nation be independent in energy through supply chain.
That's right. Well, when you think about the significant factor that fuel poses for the supply chain as a source of cost, I mean, think about in the years ahead when you have more control over the cost of that power, and especially if it's renewable.
Right.
I think it'll bring a lot of value to the supply chain, but again, in the years ahead.
Yeah, and different things like this are really showcasing how important supply chain professionals,
That's right.
executives, leaders are to the country.
That's right.
And to the economy. And it's not just about moving products.
That's right.
It's about how do we contribute to the economy in different ways than just moving product.
That's
Because
right.
that's not what it's all about.
We take a very holistic view, and we
An
take
ecosystem.
it absolutely, and we take
Yeah.
our role very, very seriously, Sarah. I mean,
I
we
can
are
see that.
we are a massive economic engine,
Yeah.
not just for our local community, our region, our state, our nation, but we also know that in order to continue to grow, we need to be a good neighbor. We need to continue to be
Yeah.
a good neighbor to our local communities, and that's the reason why we're so passionate about reducing emissions and making sure that our green resume continues to grow as we grow our volumes.
Well, I can't wait to see what that looks like even in the next year. I hope that we get to do this again next year.
Me too.
Because I love to hear all the updates and all the exciting things that you're happening. Now, I'm going to ask you to get your crystal ball out one more time.
Sure. Yeah.
Trends, predictions, what do you think 2026 is going to look like?
2026 is as murky as it will get because 2025
Good.
was the beneficiary of a lot of front loading, right? And as we know, what goes up must come down. Yet when you look at consumer spending, it continues to trend upward.
Right.
And so the optimist in me thinks that 2026 will probably be very similar to 2025.
Okay.
And
Okay.
again, 2025 is looking like a record year for us.
I know. So that means
Yeah.
that 2026 might be another record year for
I
Port
think
of
it'll
Long
be
Beach.
flat, but I
Okay.
think it's not going to be far below 2025.
Okay. All right. We're going to meet here
All right.
next year and talk about your predictions.
I look forward to it.
But did you have an answer to the question that I asked? Let me just, refresh your memory. At the top of the show, I asked you what type of product tops the Port of Long Beach's list of imports and exports. Do you know the answer?
Well, there's so much uncertainty with shifting trade policies and tariffs. It depends on the time period. But if I had to guess, if you're talking about containerized volume, furniture is always on the top of our list for imports.
Okay.
But if you talk about every line of business, then I would say energy products would rank up there.
Well, you know your product, you
Yeah.
know your port, you know what you're talking about. So the answer is petroleum products. So it doesn't surprise you at all.
Not really.
Because that's more bulk, right?
It
when you
is,
think
yeah.
about containerized, that
That's
would
right.
be furniture.
That's
but
correct.
the petroleum products would be more bulk.
That's correct. Yeah.
So I probably should have been more specific in my question, and probably the year as well.
That's right. Yeah, right. That's right.
Well, next time we'll get that right. Dr. Noel, it's always a pleasure
Thank you.
to talk to you and learn about the port and learn about the impacts that you're making on the industry. And I just want to acknowledge and appreciate you and your team, about what you're doing, how you're thinking about the environment, the future of the industry. And so
Thank you.
so much for joining me on the show today.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having us. Thank
All
you.
right, so that's it for me, Sarah Barnes-Humphrey of Let's Talk Supply Chain, on site at IANA Expo in the Port of Long Beach booth.